Hey, what's good, people? Zenobaba back again. Got another RENOISE video for you. Today we're going to be looking at some vector synthesis. What is vector synthesis, you may ask? It's actually a precursor to wavetable synthesis that utilizes 4 different sound sources kind of arranged in quadrants, right? So you've got an x-axis, you've got a y-axis, and you're cross-fading between 4 different sound sources represented by the 4 corners. It's an older synthesis method. Came out in like the mid 80s, and originally they used like a joystick to control the position of the balance of the sound sources. And vector synthesis also kind of gave rise to the first initial takes on wavetable synthesis. Some of the engineers who worked on vector synthesis went on to work on the Korg wave station, which I think was one of the first wavetable synths, if not the first wavetable synths. So it's kind of similar to wavetable synthesis, except you can access any frame from any position. So you have like the frames that are adjacent, but you can also access the ones that are across. So in a way, it's even a little more flexible than wavetable synthesis, except you're limited to basically 4 quadrants. So let's have a listen. I've just got some like kick bass, and then I've got a pad, which is a vector synth, and then I've got a lead sound, which is also a vector synth. So let's just listen to this little demo. Okay, so you get the idea. You can hear how the sound source is really like morphing and changing. And that's because we have very different sounds that are contributing in the 4 corners, right? So you can see the waveforms here. We've got FM, square wave, and like a process saw wave. And if we go in and just press play, we can see these X and Y axis are changing. So we're kind of like cycling between different parts of that vector grid. So I'm just going to disable the modulation there so we can hear exactly what's going on. So it's kind of a cool method because you can really radically change the timbral quality of the sound through, a variety of different kind of like anchor points or bases. And that's useful for all kinds of different types of voices. Very often it's used for like pads. So let's check out this pad instrument. This is also a vector synth, and I've got the X and Y input automated. These are just some kind of glassy, random sine harmonic waves that I'm morphing between. And it gives, this kind of rich, organic quality to the sound because there's a lot of movement happening. And some of that is happening in the modulation section. For this particular voice, I've got 4 different modulation sets, so each waveform is going through its own unique modulation set, with the main difference being that there are LFOs on my ADHSR or AHDSR that are morphing. That's what this LFO rates macro is all about, and they're morphing at different rates. So as it's morphing between the different sound sources, we're also getting amplitude modulation interference between the different voices. That gives a kind of nice ghostly sort of atmosphere. Let's take a look at this other lead instrument. Let's listen to the different quadrants here. So yeah, nothing too crazy, nothing too special. But what's cool about this vector method is that you can see we have different effects chains. I'm doing the vector synthesis basically in the effects section. And you can add unique individual effects to each quadrant if you want. You can also have multiple waveforms going into one quadrant. So if you wanted to, say, have 2 waveforms in one quadrant and 3 in another and just 1 in the other 2, you can route these however you want just by selecting which effect section you want them to go into, which quadrant you want them to feed into. As I said before, you can also have multiple modulation sets if you want there to be different filters or different pitch vibrato or different panning information, different amplitude envelopes. There's a ton of flexibility there. So you could have, like, say, a pad sound evolve into a pluck sound, evolve into a lead sound, evolve into, something else. I don't know, an atmosphere or something like that, if you set up the modulation sets accordingly. So there's a lot of flexibility, especially with this method within RENOISE, because we have the kind of versatility of the instrument effects section. So I think it's kind of a cool method. The way I have it set up, this first effects chain is just for controlling the vector. And then these individual quadrant effects chains are the sound processing, and they all send to this sum effects chain where you can add your effects for the entire voice. And then we've got a macro control modulation effects chain as well, in case we want to automate, some of the macro values if you want to, tie them to modulation destinations or something like that. So yeah, this isn't really a proper tutorial. If you want to make this on your own, this is really kind of the crux of the thing, is these hydras tied to these gainers. And then, this is attached to these 2 hydras. I'll let you figure that out on your own, or if you want to pick this up over on my Gumroad, you're certainly welcome to do so. It's quite reasonably priced, but it's a nice, powerful method of creating morphing sonic textures with relative ease. You just kind of, go through, select your waveforms. You can pull them out of our waveforms menu here, which has been expanded since 3.5. Oh, I'm sorry, that's those are effects rather. Our waveforms menu. I added a lot of single cycle waveforms to 3.5. So there's all kinds of cool options for native single cycle synthesis that work really well with this vector approach. Or if you have, say, a tone generator, I really like Martplex tone generators like Harmonio or Mackwell Shocheadle. These are great for creating, families of tones that you can then use in your sound design. It's super easy and quick once you wrap your brains around the interface. So anyway, that's what I got for you today. If you're interested, run over to my Gumroad and pick it up. Otherwise, now you know about vector synthesis and can hear a little bit about what it can do. Keep being awesome. Keep making lots of music. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.